Hello everyone, it's Jamal Thomas. Welcome to the Progressive Soapbox. Guys, I'm really hoarse. I apologize. I don't have any necessarily power over my voice on this one, at least not necessarily in the moment. Nevertheless, I want to do the news. There's an awesome story out on Fox News that I absolutely want to get to. First, hello to everyone. It's 1:30. I saw the story. I was like, that's fucking awesome. I like stories like this because I like being right. And I like my rightness affirmed, not just by news sources. I want it in the open, blaring lights. Because if I'm making a point on something, I'm making a point on something because I want the public to know about something that I'm making a point on. My wife told me the other day, she said, you don't watch the news as much. I said, what are you talking about? I'm ensconced in it. She says, yeah, but you don't watch it. Meaning, like, the stuff that you're reading is not necessarily the same thing like the Mad Owls and the CNNs and stuff like that. I said, no, I woke up. I woke the fuck up. First, do you remember this? This took place a year ago-ish. Take a look at the conversation here. And this is a Tulsi Gabbard talking to Jake Tapper. Tulsi Gabbard comes back from Syria and said, look, we're arming terrorists. Now, Jake Tapper tried to hit her in the knees. In fact, I'm going to show the entirety of this because I want you to see, because I kind of want you to see how he hits her in the knees on this. And yet, he's dumbfounded when she tells him about the terrorists and that we're army terrorists. This is Tulsi Gabbard talking to Jake Tapper on CNN.
Is holding for now. Joining me now in a CNN exclusive is Democratic Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard of Hawaii. She just returned from a secret trip to Syria. Congresswoman Gabbard, thanks for coming and sharing your story with us.
Aloha, Jake. Good to be with you.
So you were in Syria for 4 days. Did you meet with President Bashar al-Assad?
I did. You know, my reason for going to visit Syria was really because of the suffering of the Syrian people that has been weighing heavily on my heart. I wanted to see if there was, in some small way, a way that I could express the love and the aloha and the care that the American people have for the people of Syria, and to see firsthand what was happening there, to see that situation there.
What did Assad have to say?
By the way, and I'm not going to inject much on this because this has nothing to do with my main point. Her reasoning for going to Syria is twofold. Understand, the media has a narrative here that they want to put out. Tulsi Gabbard has a narrative here that she wants to put out. She doesn't trust the media. That's implicit in what's being said. Otherwise, she would have just taken the media's word for what's taking place and she would have just went with it. No, she went to see for herself. Jake Tapper, clearly know about this. Why do you take our narrative for it? We told you. CNN was telling you what was taking place there, Tulsi. Why did you have to go? And did you talk to Assad? Did you talk to the brutal dictator Assad? Did you talk to Assad? That's all he wants to know. What do you say to Assad? What did you say to the dictator? Tulsi Gabbard's point in this is she wants to draw focus to what's taking place there and America's role on what's taking place there. Because let's be honest, Tulsi Gabbard already knew that we were arming terrorists when she went there. Her point was to draw a spotlight on it. And the media, because otherwise the media wasn't going to talk about it, wasn't going to cover it. But let's keep going. I'm not going to fully interrupt on this. This video always annoys me, which is why I always show this very particular video. You know my question. Are they corrupt or are they incompetent? Meaning, do they know and just don't tell the public this stuff? Or don't they know and they're just incompetent at whatever they're doing? Let's take a look. Let's hear.
Initially, I hadn't planned on meeting him. When the opportunity arose to meet with him, I did so because I felt it's important that if we profess to truly care about the Syrian people, about their suffering, then we've got to be able to meet with anyone that we need to if there is a possibility that we could achieve peace. And that's exactly what we talked about.
Now, I know the maxim that people say in the military that you don't make peace with your friends, you make peace with your enemies. But obviously Bashar al-Assad is responsible for thousands of deaths and millions of people being displaced during this 5-year-long civil war. Did you have any compunctions about meeting with somebody like that, giving him any sort of enhanced credibility because a member of the United States Congress would meet with someone like that?
Would Jake Tapper sit down with George Bush for an interview? Or would Jake Tapper sit down with Barack Obama for an interview? Would Jake Tapper sit down with Donald Trump for an interview? All of these people have massacred thousands of civilians, mind you. Bush killing over 1 million. What is his point? What is his point? Let's keep going.
Like that.
Whatever you think about President Assad, the fact is that he is the president of Syria. In order for any peace agreement, in order for any possibility of a viable peace agreement to occur, there has to be a conversation with him. The Syrian people will determine his outcome and what happens with their government and their future. But our focus, my commitment is on ending this war that has caused so much suffering to these Syrian people, to these children, to these families, many of whom I met on this trip. It's important for us to stay focused on doing what is in their best interest and what is in our best interest, and doing what it is necessary to make that happen.
So, Congressman Adam Kinzinger, a friend of yours, also a military veteran, a Republican, he said on Twitter when he heard about your visit, quote, "Fact-finding mission, fact, 50,000 plus dead children in Syria. Tulsi Gabbard, I hope you didn't meet with their butcher, Assad." Now, Assad has used chemical weapons on his own people. You said it's going to be up to the Syrian people, but there really aren't free and fair elections in Syria.
Again, two things that's just taking place here. What I'm getting at, there's no such thing as objectivity. Objectivity does not exist. It's something that people say. They try to make it look as if their perspective is the perspective. Nonsense. Jake Tapper is doing two things here. He injected information into the conversation saying, hey, this other random guy, he was also in the military, so let's bring up the military bona fides. He said this guy's a dictator. He killed 50,000 people, including dead babies. Dead babies. I mean, you didn't meet with that guy, did you? Now, I'm going to move on to the question because I don't want you to respond to the thing that I've just injected into the conversation. Jake Tapper has a disposition. He has a perspective here, and pretending as if these guys are objective is nonsense. Just like she has a perspective. Hey, we're killing people in that country. We need to do something about it. I know I said what I was going to inject, but this video always gets on my nerves, and it always makes that point more clear on, do they know, and they just don't tell. And I'm inclined to believe, yes, they know, they just don't tell.
I'll tell you what I heard from the Syrian people that I met with, Jake, walking down the streets in Aleppo, in Damascus, hearing from them. They expressed happiness and joy at seeing an American walking through their streets, but they expressed a question. They said, why is it that the United States, its allies in other countries, are providing support, are providing arms to terrorist groups like al-Nusra, al-Qaeda, Arar al-Sham, ISIS, who are on the ground there raping, kidnapping, torturing, and killing the Syrian people, children, men, women, people of all ages. They asked me, why is the United States and its allies supporting these terrorist groups who are destroying Syria when it was al-Qaeda who attacked the United States on 9/11, not Syria? I didn't have an answer for them.
Obviously, the United States government denies providing any sort of help to the terrorist groups that you're talking about. They say they provide help for the rebel groups. Tell us.
He can barely even get it out. He can barely even, well, I mean, obviously, I mean, the United States government denies any such thing as this. I mean, they just said they help the moderates. They're just helping moderates. He can barely get it out. In that moment, it dawned on me, it's like, oh my God, he knows. He knows. He just doesn't tell. He knows. Jake, understand what the government says. This person has just told you something that is mind-blowing. The United States government is paying terrorists freedom and justice and liberty and democracy. Paying terrorists to take down a government, and a member of Congress has just told you that that is true. And your response to this is, well, the government says they're not doing that. What is your response, Jake? Are you a stenographer, or are you a reporter, or are you a journalist? Is your job just to recount whatever the government is saying, or is your job to tell the audience what's true? She's just told you something that is magnificently mind-blowing. You tried to hit her in the knees, and she hit you with something that you were completely unprepared for. And blah, 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 blah. It's almost like one of your chips fell out, and somebody had to come back in and repair the chips. All right, Jake, do your thing. My point in doing this is, and just to back up what Tulsi Gabbard is saying, this, United States, Saudi Arabia arms significantly enhance ISIS military capability, report reveals. Now, when I tell people this, they're like, what? We're paying terrorists? Yes, we're paying terrorists. And guess who has now jumped also on this bandwagon of detailing it, and not just detailing it, meeting some of the people involved in giving the weapons over the terrorists. Fox fucking News. Fox News. Fox News has come out with a story, apparently an interview with somebody who was involved with the CIA program giving the weapons to terrorists. Yes! Yes, I love it! Fox News is a bunch of hacks. The only reason they're coming out with this story is because it was under Obama. At the very end of the article, and I'm going to show you the very end of the article because I love it. I love it. They're fighting for their guy, and they don't necessarily care the front in which they're going to use to attack the Obama administration. And this is one of the fronts they've opened up, saying that last administration was giving weapons to terrorists. That's amazing. I'm going to show you the last part. I'm going to go through the story, but the last part. In 2017, citing its ineffectiveness on the recommendation from the CIA director Mike Pompeo, the person Trump put in, President Trump ended the faltering Syrian rebel supply program. While the cost of the program and the amount of the arms aid provided, mostly classified, it's estimated that $1 billion was spent on the effort. The CIA declined to comment on the story. Even in this, the only reason they are bringing up this story and talking about this story is because it allows them to attack Obama. But again, like I've told you, you can get information from pretty much any source as long as you know the bias. The bias is we don't like Obama, we're going to use this to attack him, and we're going to make him look like an asshole by showing him giving weapons to terrorists. What our guy Donald Trump stopped the program. It's fucking amazing. Even in doing a story that's good and right and pertinent to the audience, you're fucking hacks in the process. I don't care. The story is amazing because it's talking to assets that were on the ground working with the CIA. And the guy is making this point like, look, in order for me to get from point A to point B, I had to hand these weapons over. Otherwise, we were going to be killed. We were walking through horrendous territory. Fucking amazing story. I'm going to read this. I'm just going to read it because it's awesome. I gave the United States trucks and ammunition to Al-Qaeda, the chaotic U.S. effort to arm Syrian rebels. Now, I made the point early on that the Obama administration got to the point where they didn't necessarily care. They just wanted their Assad government taken down. So you end up with this case of weapons being all over the place. It wasn't just moderates, and then it became, what do you mean by moderates? What does that mean? I don't know what that means. What does moderates mean? You find out moderates didn't mean squat. It's something that they use in order to create a fig leaf to allow the American public to believe that the United States was doing good in the world as it gave weapons to terrorists. Bloodthirsty, rapist terrorists. Fucking amazing. And you still have Democrats saying this is a great guy and all this other stuff. Hey, saying that we were giving weapons and arms to bloodthirsty terrorists. Would Jake Tapper sit down with Obama, saying as he has such a big deal with sitting down with Assad? It's amazing. Let's go through the story. U.S. military equipment and ammunition sent to Syria as part of a failed Obama administration plan to find and arm moderate forces to defeat ISIS were instead simply handed over to Al-Qaeda group, according to the man who said he himself brokered the deal. I communicated with Al-Qaeda's branch, al-Nusra, to protect and safely escort me and my soldiers for 2 hours from North Aleppo to West Aleppo. Major Anas Ibrahim Obaid, better known as battlefield as Abu Zaid, told Fox News from his home in western Aleppo area. In exchange, I gave them 5 pickup trucks of ammunition. Oh, pickup trucks and ammunition. I'm sorry, both. I was underplaying it. Those trucks and ammo were issued to him by the United States in 2015, part of a $500 million Department of Defense effort to train and equip a new ideologically moderate force to battle ISIS. God, this is breathtaking incompetence. The program, one of at least two designed to funnel arms to so-called moderate Syrian rebels, provided to be a spectacular failure for the Obama administration. Zaid, who said he defected from the Syrian army to the opposition in 2012, described a program that was rife with inconsistencies and incompetence. He claimed the main prerequisites for inclusion in the program was proof of an association with a group that had fought ISIS, the Islamic State. That was followed by a few basic questions like, which faction did you fight? And what do you think of ISIS? What do you think of ISIS? They took a poll. That's awesome. After undergoing training in Turkey, the first batch of 54 trained fighters crossed back to Syria in 2015, only to be almost instantly ambushed by al-Nusra militants. Several of the men were kidnapped, and their United States-issued weapons were stolen. Zaid said he was part of a second group to be sent into Syria, this time without proper firepower. The United States trainers wanted us to go into Syria without weapons because of the ambush and said we could get the weapons inside instead. This was crazy, Zaid recalled. We refused. The weapons issue was worked out, and the rebels eventually started their journey back to Syria on September 19th, but Turkish border guards found something else in their bags. Syrian regime flags, rather, the flags of the opposition group the fighter were being sent to support. That's amazing. Let me say that again. The weapons issue worked out, but the rebels eventually started their journey back to Syria on September 19th. But Turkish border guards found something else in their bags. Syrian regime flags, rather than the flags of the opposition group the fighters were being sent to support. They were supposed to be there to fight ISIS. Instead, these guys were fighting for the opposition. I'm sorry. Syrian regime flags, rather than the flags they were flags of the opposition group they were supposed to flag. They were supporting Syria. So he said the fighters charged back to their base in Turkey, demanding answers. U.S. trainers took responsibility for the flag mistake, Zaid said, and the following days the rebels continued back into Syria. But morale was already a problem, Zaid said, and fighters who were being paid $250 a month salary by the Defense Department began defecting. His group of 72 shrank to just 25, he said. 25? What is 25 people? Zaid said he too became quickly fed up with the program and planned to return to his hometown in western Aleppo to fight the Syrian regime. But getting home entailed moving through al-Nusra territory. That's where he called al-Qaeda affiliated leaders and made arrangements to hand over 5 U.S.-issued trucks and scores of ammunition in exchange for free passage and an armed escort home. The Americans were so angry when they found out they cut my salary, Zaid said nonchalantly. But this was our only option of getting through the territory without getting killed. Zaid said the Pentagon halted the trouble program about a month after the deal with al-Nusra. I got many messages. The Americans do not want to deal with me anymore, but they can't get their weapons back, he boasted. No, they can't. No, they can't. Because those weapons are now in the hands of ISIS. Well, and parading them in his living room. Over Skype from his living room, Zaid showed off an assortment of M16 and M24 sniper rifles, as well as ammo, mortar rounds, and machine guns. He claimed most in his arsenal were U.S. issued, with more in a nearby warehouse. Sources close to Zaid told Fox News that his American-funded groups routinely surface on the black market and constitute something of a lucrative business. Zaid said today remains a commander in the Free Syrian Army. A second Obama administration program, Timber Sycamore. This is what I mean, man. This is... Are you telling me that these guys can't do actual journalism or actual investigation? They can do journalism extremely well and perfectly fine when they're looking into the failures and the fuck-ups of the last administration. It's amazing that they're doing this. Yes, I like it, because what they're saying is like, yeah, I've been saying this for like a year, and here's a source saying that, yeah, these weapons were essentially going into al-Qaeda and ISIS. That's great. Why on earth does Fox News know about the number of murders that has been taking place in the Trump administration with him pushing the drone program in the CIA? They've maxed out the murders by like 4 or 5 times more than what Obama was doing, who was killing thousands. 90% of the people Obama killed were civilians, and many of those things. When they did studies, like a 5-month study, 90% of those people were civilians. Donald Trump has taken the restrictions off even to that degree and has expanded the program further. Some of the estimates saying 4 times as much. Where's Fox News story on that? I'm not mad at the story, and I'm going to read the story because I like the story and the story's right. But you get into this thing of, why are you such hacks? Why on earth are you such hacks? When you actually want to get into a story, you can get into a story just fine. You guys choose not to, which means it's not necessarily incompetence, it's choice. The second Obama administration program, Timber Sycamore, I love the name, was started by the CIA in late 2012 with a similar aim of arming rebels. The particular operation was active along the Turkish border in Syria's north and Jordanian crossing the south, referred to as the Southern Front. But Syrian opposition figures said this program was also compromised, with arms falling into the hands of ISIS or al-Nusra. The program initially supplied light weapons, but as the Syrian civil war intensified, the United States strengthened its commitment by providing select rebels with American tune-launched, optically tracked, wire-guided anti-tank missiles, better known as BGM-71 TOWs. One opposition group backed by Washington in 2014 to use the TOWs was FSA group Hazam Movement. We became optimistic we could overthrow the regime. Asim Zedam, 27, formerly a media activist for the Free Syrian Army, told Fox News. And the TOW missiles helped us to prevent the regime's pushing forward for some time. But it wasn't enough. Zedam said only TOWs at the time were issued, which he said fell well short of what was required to defeat the regime forces. And matters only worsened when al-Nusra started to attack and steal their weapons. Again, United States and Saudi arms significantly enhanced ISIS military capacities, report revealed. And keep in mind what the strategy here is at this point. This is glaring incompetence. Obama is literally trying to fight two wars at the same time. He wants to take down Assad, so he wants regime change. At the same token, he wants to fight ISIS. This is nonsense. You can't have your cake and eat it too. What ended up happening was these people who were fighting Assad essentially just lost their weapons to ISIS. Like, this stuff becomes insane. The other guy essentially was so terrified he just gave his weapons to ISIS. And in this case, these guys are saying, hey, we had these ideas that we could take down the government. And then ISIS just stole our weapons from us. Anti-tank missiles ended up in the hands of ISIS because the Obama administration was essentially funneling weapons into that area of the globe to a tune of over $1 billion. We don't even know what that number is. We know it's at least $1 billion. Let's keep going. Timber Sycamore. That's where we left off. Timber Sycamore. Another rebel fighter, Suil Alamad, who defected from Syrian army in March 2012 when he was a specialist in missiles, also expressed frustration over what he called insufficient efforts to help. That's what I wanted to say. This bubbling war. Look, the reason why I give so much shit to the Obama administration on this is because he couldn't shit or get off the pot. Make your choice. You're trying to give these people weapons and munitions to take down the Syrian government, but you don't want to invest too much in it because you don't want the world to know that you don't want the regular public to know that you're giving these people weapons to take down the government, because we get iffy with regime change. You don't want people to know that. You want to do this in secret. You want to do this kind of under the sly. You have people like Jake Tapper who won't necessarily call a spade, so fair enough, you have the media complicit. But if you're getting too ridiculous with this, the problem with this is you end up with this just bubbling war. Because you can't make up your mind on what you want to do. It just bubbles on and bubbles on and bubbles on. And you end up with this meat grinder of people getting killed and murdered and slaughtered. The opposition doesn't have enough to win the war. The Syrian government doesn't have enough to win the war. So it just goes on and on and on, with more and more civilians getting killed, more and more civilians being slaughtered. As much as you want to point to Bashar al-Assad for doing this, you also have to support to the powers for saying, why on earth are you fueling this war by giving these people weapons to allow this war to propagate itself? We don't know this, but this war could have been ended within a year or two, as opposed to just kind of going on and on and on, creating this meat grinder. Our influence in this region essentially made this much, much, much worse. That's my point. After a string of several successful attacks against ISIS forces, Al-Mud said in late November 2014 he received a supply of malfunctioning TOWs believed to have come from the surplus Saudi stockpiles. But despite having a stated range of more than 2 miles, some missiles would travel no more than 150 feet. I suffered a lot because of that, Al-Mud contended. And so the regime and the terrorists advanced. We were told more TOWs would come, but it took weeks for them to arrive. Al-Mud also conceded that the al-Nusra managed to steal a number of TOWs, many of which have since landed on the black market, fetching $30,000 a piece. Wow. Abram al-Jawari, who defected from his position as vice president of the police in the Syrian province of Homs in 2012 to take on a role in an Amman-based spokesman, for the Southern Front concurred that some of the TOW rockets ended up with al-Nusra. And then here we are. In 2017, citing ineffectiveness on a recommendation of then CIA Director Mike Pompeo, Trump ended the faltering program. Well, the cost of it, that part is necessary for it to be Fox News. They can't just give you the information. They also have to tell you how incompetent Obama was as he was doing this program. That's amazing. That is amazing. That's amazing. Yeah, I'm not going to keep this one longer than that. This is going 25 minutes. I wanted to read the article because the article was oddly good. It's reporting. It's journalism. It's what journalism and reporting is supposed to be. I just wish it was something that was a little bit more common. I just wish it was common. And the fact that it came from Fox News means Fox News has the potential, has the capacity to do this stuff. They just only seem to be able to do it when they're attacking the other party. And in this case, this is safe journalism because it shows Obama was incompetent in regards to his foreign policy in Syria. So there's that. There's that. Belteshazzar 228. Laura Oriani, Maddow hears Russia. Maddow hears much. He always hears Russia. And Wesley Walker. Belteshazzar, you're going to break me. Belteshazzar, you're going to break me. Jake Tapper should have had a war room malfunction. That's exactly what it was. It's like the chip, like, bling. You know, like in Rick and Morty, where they're like in robots, the little sprockets and the gears come apart as he's talking, and it's like somebody comes up, plants him back, and Jake Tapper starts talking back to the camera again. He's stammering like an idiot. But she caught him off guard. Whoa, 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 whoa. You just said we're paying terrorists. Whoa, whoa. You can't say that on the air. You can't say that on the air. You can't say that on the air. The government says it's not doing that. The government says it's not doing that. By the way, Belteshazzar, I'm going to send you a t-shirt, man. You support the show like nobody's business. Wesley Walker got his t-shirt. I would also like to send you one. Please hit me up on Facebook and send me your information, or hit me up on Twitter, or hit me up on my email and just give me your information. Or for that matter, that's if you want it. I just want to say thank you. Like, you all help support the show, and I guess to some degree, sometimes I'm blown away by the fact that people support the show. But I guess my wife always make the point. It's like, don't you give the Real News? Yeah, I get the Real News Network. So I guess it's something similar. No, guys, look, I appreciate it. I appreciate it. All you guys that help the show. And Wesley, thank you. I got the Kirk thing. I laughed out loud when I opened that box. Like, look, man, my wife was like, I want to stay on the phone as you open the box. And I'm like, holy shit, I can't believe this. Thank you very much, my man. And Belteshazzar, like I said, send me your stuff. I want to send you a t-shirt, man. Thank you for your support for the show. You're immensely helpful. All of you guys are immensely helpful. Fox News. Fox fucking News. You think MSNBC would ever come out with a story like this? MSNBC will come out with a story about Donald Trump murdering civilians from the standpoint of the CIA. They would never come out with this one. These people are hacks. They're in the party. Meaning they have the capacity to do stuff like this. They just don't do it. This is a damn good story about Fox. I've been screaming about it for over a year. But welcome to the party. I'll take it. All right, guys. If you enjoyed the content, please feel free to share, like, subscribe, and of course, you guys can always support through Patreon. I will be back shortly. There's several stories that I want to do that I didn't get to yesterday. I even want to do a story debunking Noam Chomsky, which hurts me to my heart, and I can't even believe I'm saying it. But I disagree with some stuff in Noam Chomsky's email, and the further away I got from reading the email, the more I disagree with it. So I'm going to end this here. I'm trying to keep this under 30, and I kept it under 30. All right, guys. You all have a good one, and I will see you all shortly. Thanks, everyone. And we are...